I'd like to tell you a story of an elderly woman who lives in Lesotho. I met her because I had the privilege of going to Lesotho for work, and I was so inspired for her and so inspired by her. This woman lives with HIV. That is why I'm not showing you her photo and I'm not telling you her name. One day, the village dwellers found out about her serostatus, and they shunned her outside of the village. They asked her to move in a hut and to live by herself, shunned by the village elders, shunned by her family and her long-lost friends. She had no other choice but to live her fate of a lonely existence. Until one day, she heard, as she was going to buy some food, she heard of a shepherd boy in that village who had broken a big norm. He had flocked his sheep in a very sacred space. He was going to be asked to leave because he had infringed a rule. She decided to risk her own life, to get up and walk to the elders and speak up for the future of this boy. In her, everybody saw her as a rule breaker. But what she saw in the boy was somebody marginalized who was going to suffer, who was going to move out and have nowhere to stay and no food to eat. She decided that day to take a stand because she cared deeply about another human being, and she saw a different future for him, a future for him which was better than the one he had. And she spoke so eloquently and with so much conviction, and she was listened to. That night, something close to a miracle happened. The elders gathered and they took a decision. They actually reversed their decision. They decided to welcome back the boy in the village. They welcomed him back, and there he stayed. And that night, in that hut, very far away on the outskirts of the village, there was a flurry of activity. And one by one, people from the village went into this woman's hut and apologized for having hurt her and for having marginalized her. And many of them confessed that they were living with HIV, and they begged for caring and for support. Overnight, this woman became a leader, not because she was appointed to, not because she was given the formal authority, but because she chose to be a leader. She chose to take a stand for somebody else in her life, and she chose to do that because she deeply cared about this other human being. So I am here today because, just like this woman who stepped out of the shadow and became a leader that same day, I am here today because I believe that in this room there are many leaders hidden in plain sight. And there are many leaders here who, through their passion, can make a huge difference in their families, in their communities. My invitation is that by the end of this talk, when you walk out, you feel inspired and empowered to enact even more the leader that is within you. So, what is a leader? And who is a leader? Is it our former Empress Taitu of this country? Is it the CEOs, the head of organizations, those who have been mandated and who have been given a terms of reference and a mission to manage an organization and some objectives? Yes, these are the leaders that we're talking about, and the political leaders. And well and good, we need these leaders. But they're not enough. Think about what happens in our families. Think about all the conflicts that we are called to mediate. When you walk out of your door, when you walk out of your house, think about all the things we need to respond to. The streets that require to be cleaned up. the children that need to be fed and put in school, the issues of gender equality that we need to address. Think about our city, pollution. Think about access to health. We've heard about that earlier on. All of these are challenges. They're very complex challenges, and it requires each one of us to step up and proactively do something about it. And so the leaders that I'm talking about are also these. This little girl who can make a difference, the shoeshine boy who can make decisions, our great Tsege Haile of women in self-employment, Mother Teresa, Dr. Boggalech Gebre of KMG Ethiopia. All of them at some point, and especially the latter ones, decided one day that there was something that they had to do about what they were seeing in their society. They saw some very complex problems that they couldn't solve with a click of a button or with a technical solution, problems that required a human response, deep care, vision, courage, and action. So these are the leaders in plain sight, hidden in plain sight, that I wish to talk about today. And when I think of leaders, of such leaders, my mother comes to mind. Do we love our mothers? My mother every day reminds me of bold, courageous leadership, creative problem solving for anything that happens in the house and beyond. And I can give you an example of what my mother has done that really inspired me. She was noticing that after the rainy season, her neighborhood, like many of our neighborhoods, would have streets that had lots of potholes, some very deep ones, riddled in the streets, in the roads, that would force many cars and trucks and buses to actually get onto the pavement to avoid those potholes. And that was a very dangerous thing for the school children that were going to school, for the pedestrians. She thought something needed to be done about it. She contacted the local administration. They seemed to be very overwhelmed with many tasks. So off she went. She decided one day to go to the head office of the road authority. She went all the way to the corridors, all the way up to the office of the head of the authority. She sat down and she said, "Thank you very much, I'm going to wait. If I can't speak to them, I'm going to wait." She waited all day, but she did speak to them. And she did share her concern for safety in the street and for better neighborhoods. And her concern was addressed. So again, this is the leadership I'm talking about. She didn't act because somebody called her up and asked her to do this. She acted because she chose to do it, because she valued something about safe neighborhoods, and because she believed that she could make a difference in a corner of her world. And that, again, is the leadership that I'm talking about. So let's just take a moment right now and reflect. Let's think about those leaders in our lives, those who believed in us, who encouraged us, who made us live our dreams, who appreciated us, who made us believe in things that we didn't believe in. Let's just take a moment and appreciate those leaders hidden in plain sight. And as we remember them, next time we see them, let's look at them with those eyes and acknowledge them as leaders. The more we see the leadership in others, the more it grows and it enriches their lives and our lives too. So where does leadership come from? Where does that energy come from? How is leadership enacted? Probably from our values and our purpose and our willpower and our commitment, our unshakable will, no matter what, to see something happening that we really deeply care about. And when we have this very strong foundation and we are clear of our purpose and our commitment, we can act and we can make decisions about the habits that we want to change, about those mental and emotional and biological habits that maybe keep us from doing things we wish to do. And they also help us to shape our behavior and our action and our speaking. So the more solid our foundation is in our purpose and our commitment, the more effective, the more powerful we can be as leaders. And there is a Scottish mountain climber of the Scottish Himalayan expedition who says this so much better than I would do. And I quote, "Until one is committed, there is hesitancy. There is a chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves in too. All sorts of things occur to make things happen that would have never otherwise occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raises one's favor. All manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no one could have dreamed would have come their way." And here, I also quote Goethe, the German philosopher. And he says, "Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it." Boldness has genius in it, power and magic in it. Begin it now. And of course, when we begin, something could hold us back. Where do those ifs and buts and maybe and I should and I shouldn't, all that doubt come from when we start with courage, when we move into action? Well, yes, there are many no's that we could have inside of us. And also, behind those no's, there is a very powerful yes. That if we just give it a chance, if we just listen to it and act despite of that no, we can really do things, we can really enact our leadership. So that could be a practice. Whenever I have so many doubts going on in my mind, let me ask myself, behind all of this, what is that powerful yes that is waiting to happen? I remember that 5 years ago, I was part of a leadership development program that literally changed me inside out, changed the way I think, the way I look at things, cognitively, emotionally, in so many ways, in the way I am with my relationships. It put a mirror up for me, and boy, I had to look at myself really deep inside, look at my strengths, look at my limitations, and really be honest with myself. It also created for me a community of other people who were part of this process and who were going through the same experiences. When I was part of this program, only 3 Ethiopians had been part of it. And my colleagues and I, who had been really impacted by it, we asked ourselves, well, is this it? Is this how we're going to leave it? This program must come to our continent. This program must come to Ethiopia. It must be accessible to so many more people. We made that declaration, and we felt that loud yes coming deep inside. And of course, the minute we said, yes, let's do it, there were so many doubts coming up, and we had so many people asking us why on earth we were doing this, and would this work, and would this happen in our country, and why are you doing this, and couldn't it be that you do this other program or this other program? And sometimes we had those doubts too. And after so many ups and downs and tribulations and all sorts of questions that we kept on asking ourselves, we decided that we would take the risk and really start launching this program. The moment we said that powerful yes inside of us, we had such a stream of enthusiastic people joining us and encouraging us, and ideas and resources. Everything started coming together. And so we moved on. And of course, I'm not going to deny that there were nights in which I would find myself literally on the floor in a puddle of tears, going, what am I doing? Why on earth did I say yes to this? And we would also, with my colleagues, sit down and say, how did we just decide to take up this huge promise? Now there's no turning back. Of course there was all of that. But behind that, there was a vision, there was a belief, there was persistence, there was resilience. And the great news is that I am here today to say that after 4 years of attempts, in August of this year, we had 17 amazing participants, amazing leaders, some of them which I see in this room, join us for this journey, for this 9-month journey together. Out of these 17, 16 were from our continent. 16 of them were from Africa. And 2 of them were young leaders who were scholarship recipients. And here they are. And so with these amazing people and these amazing participants who have completed the program and are working on their own personal projects and on collective projects for the community, many of them have stepped up into leadership and they are co-creating with us. We are working together to have a new program happening in December. And so how do we spot these leaders? I had the opportunity to work with such amazing leaders. And so my question for you is, with these leaders, are you inspired to act? Do they allow you to think differently? Do they create cultures of innovation? In their organizations, what do you see? How do people interact with each other? Do they create new possibilities and breakthroughs? Are they biased for action? These are the leaders that we encourage you to see and to be yourself. And I'm going to leave you remembering Our Lady, our woman, an elderly woman from Lesotho, with a poem. My life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. Life is not a brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I can hold for a moment, and I want it to burn as brightly as possible before handing it over to future generations. I invite you right now to turn around and to look at the leaders hidden from plain sight that are sitting next to you. The more you acknowledge them, the more you see them, the more they will grow. And again, ask yourself, what is that hidden, loud yes that is waiting to emerge from you? And one last thing I will ask you to do. Take one step forward and step into that leadership. We need that leadership. We need your service in your communities and in the world. We need you to be who you are and even more. Thank you so much.